A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to Primetime News. We are coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Rashad. Let's take a look at the headlines.
Attorney General seeks permission from Chief Justice to file indictments against 10 accused in the bond scam at the Permanent High Court trial at bar. Did India draft the cabinet paper regarding the East Container Terminal? The JVP questions.
Cabinet පත්‍රිකාවේ Indian අගමැතිතුමා සඳහන් කළ තින් මෙහෙම His Excellency Prime Minister for India Sri Narendra Modi මං හිතනවා මේ cabinet පත්‍රිකාව හදලා ඉන්දියාවෙන්ම කියලා.
An emergency cabinet meeting headed by the President. The bodies of Mohammed Zahran's relations who died in the explosion in Santa Marta exhumed today. MP Jayampati Vikramaratne explains the complications in the 19th Amendment to the Constitution.
On to our lead story now, the Attorney General has sought permission from the Chief Justice to forward indictments against the accused in the 27th February 2015 Central Bank Treasury bond issue to the Western Province Permanent High Court trial at bar.
The 10 accused are former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran, former Central Bank Deputy Governor P. Samarasiri, Perpetual Treasuries Limited, PTL beneficial owner Arjun Aloysius, PTL CEO Kasun Palisena, Jeffrey Joseph Aloysius, Pushya Gunawardena, Ranjan Hulugalla, Muthuraja Surendran and Arjan Punchiheva. According to the coordinating officer to the Attorney General, State Counsel Nishara Jayawatna, the AG has sought permission considering the nature of the circumstances, the gravity and the complexity of the case and the economic impact it had on the state. The accused are charged with conspiracy to commit criminal misappropriation in respect of treasury bonds to the face value of 10.058 billion rupees against all suspects. The criminal breach of trust in respect of treasury bonds against the first and second suspects and causing a loss to the government to the sum of 688 million rupees. The Attorney General will accordingly present the indictments once the directive is received from the Chief Justice on the 23 counts involving 7 charges against the accused. The charges were presented under the Public Property Act and the Registered Stocks and Securities Ordinance.
The Janata Vimukti Peramuna questioned the recent cabinet paper on the East Container Terminal of the Colombo Port in Parliament today.
The jetty in the Colombo port was sold on the 28th of May. With regard to India and Japan, Honourable Speaker, I will include the Cabinet Memorandum that was presented by the Minister of Ports and Shipping Development on the 24th of May 2019 in the Hansard. The 24th of May was a Friday. The 25th of May was a Saturday. The 26th of May was a Sunday. The agreement was signed on the 28th of May. As far as I know, this is a cabinet paper that was submitted on Friday, the 24th of May. No minister will look into such matters during the weekend. No minister will be able to summon their respective secretaries and conduct an analysis in this regard. I have a suspicion, Honourable Speaker. Was this cabinet paper drafted in India as well? When drafting cabinet papers, there is a standard language that is generally used. Accordingly, in this cabinet paper, the name of the Indian Prime Minister is stated as His Excellency Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi. If this cabinet paper was drafted by the Foreign Ministry, I will understand. However, I firmly believe that this cabinet paper was drafted in India. Now, with regard to the Memorandum of Cooperation, I will include this document in the Hansard with your permission. Memorandum of Cooperation for the Development of the Colombo Southern Port. In this document, it states the following.
Memorandum of Cooperation for the Development of the Colombo Southern Port in Sri Lanka among the Government of the Republic of India. ඊළඟට තමයි තියෙන්නේ the Government of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka and the Government of Japan. The Lanka
Is Japan and Sri Lanka planning for an acquisition of India? Or is India and Japan planning for an acquisition in Sri Lanka? Honourable Leader of the House, when we sign an agreement, it is the name of our country that must be stated first. This agreement is regarding the port of our country. I have a serious concern. Counting of votes during the Indian election started on the 23rd of May. On the 24th, results were out, and it was evident the BJP was going to win. Therefore, the document was drafted in India and sent to our country. As far as I know, the cabinet convened on the 28th. This agreement was signed on the 28th as well. You have betrayed the mandate of the general public. You have no right to sell the national assets that belong to this country.
මේ ජාතික සම්පත් විකුණන්න තමුන්නාස අයිතියක් නැහැ.
Meanwhile, the chief government whip presented to Parliament the response of the subject matter to the questions raised by MP Anurukumar Desanayake previously regarding the East Container Terminal of the Colombo port. The government has made no decision to hand over the eastern terminal of the Colombo port to any foreign country. 51% of the shares of the port will be retained by the Ports Authority, while the remaining will be operated by a consortium. The objective of forming such a company is to increase competitiveness of port operations. There will be no transfer of ownership of the eastern terminal. 100% of ownership will be retained by the Ports Authority. Therefore, there will be no threat to the security of our country. We will retain majority ownership in the company that is to conduct operations. Therefore, there will be no issue in terms of ownership either. A new company has been established and 49% of its shares will be given to India and Japan. 51% of stake is retained by the Sri Lankan government. This is the structure and nature of this matter. Without informing the Parliament, a cabinet paper was presented on the 24th and signed on the 28th. This reveals that you rushed with this matter. That's not all. You wanted this information not be revealed to the Parliament and the general public. What gives you the right to hand over national assets to foreign forces? Without the consent of the public, without the approval of a majority in Parliament, there is absolutely no reason to approve the transfer of ownership of national assets to foreign forces for such a cheap price. We took this decision after discussing this matter for a long period of time. MP Anurukumar Desanayake requested a parliamentary debate regarding this matter be called on immediately.
President's Counsel Vijayadasa Rajapaksa has addressed a letter to the Speaker citing the limitations on revealing matters on national security. Now, the Speaker's office confirmed it is studying the contents of the letter.
In the letter, Vijayadasa Rajapaksa notes, as per the provisions of the Official Secrets Act No. 32 of 1955, releasing secret information or documents to another party is a punishable offence. A person with no legal rights to obtain such information, possessing the information is a punishable act. President's Counsel Vijayadasa Rajapaksa further stated that any individual shall be liable to 14 years of imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years and shall also be liable to a fine not exceeding 20,000 rupees. The letter sent to the Speaker has warned about the appointment of a parliamentary select committee which reveals the information. In the letter, the President's Counsel also pointed out that the exposure of intelligence puts the citizens and country at risk.
Let's now listen to some of the views expressed by MP Bimal Ratnayaka in Parliament today.
We would like to know whether there is any attempt or plan by the government or the President to stop operations of the Select Committee that was appointed to look into the 21st April attacks.
තේරීම්කාරක සභාව නතර කරන්න හෝ අහෝසි කරන්න ආණ්ඩුවේ යම් සූදානමක් තියෙනවද කියන්නේ.
ගරු සභානායකතුමා.
එහෙම සූදානමක් නැහැ සර්.
An emergency cabinet meeting was convened this evening. Reporting to us live from the Presidential Secretariat is News First Muad Razik. Muad?
Here in Colombo, and as we reported, President Maithripala Sirisena has called in for a special cabinet meeting at the Presidential Secretariat this evening, and it was reported that around 7:30 the meeting was about to start, and to discuss the current situation, the prevailing situation in the country, and also to discuss the special parliamentary committee appointed to probe into the April 21st attacks. And earlier we saw this evening several vehicles bearing the flags of United Nations entering the premises, and later in this evening we saw the vehicles arriving out at the premises of the Presidential Secretariat, and also several senior police officers were also seen coming out of the Presidential Secretariat earlier this evening. That is the latest update from the Presidential Secretariat opposite Colombo, and stay tuned to News First for the latest updates on this story.
Thank you, Muad. Meanwhile, President Maithripala Sirisena says he does not approve intelligence officers being summoned before a special parliamentary select committee for state intelligence information to be revealed to the media. Now, according to the President's media unit, the President had noted that he will not produce any security officer in active duty before the PSC, and he would take responsibility on behalf of those officers. The President, in a meeting with senior ranks of Sri Lanka Police today, said the Attorney General had informed him there are 5 cases on the April 21st attacks taken up at the Supreme Court, and appointing a PSC at such a time sets a negative impact on the process undertaken by the Supreme Court. On to one of our headline-making stories. Now, the bodies of those who killed themselves in the explosions in Santa Marta were exhumed this morning. The bodies were exhumed to recover fresh DNA samples, as the samples previously obtained from the bodies were contaminated.
On the 26th of April, when security forces raided a house in the tsunami village in Santa Marta, 15 people inside detonated explosives in an act of suicide. Following preliminary examinations, the bodies were buried in the Ampara public cemetery. The court granted permission to exhume the bodies as the samples of the charred remains were contaminated. Police said the bodies of a child and 3 others were exhumed today. The bodies were exhumed under the inspection of Ampara Magistrate Asanka Hettivatta and Judicial Medical Officer of the Trincomalee Hospital, Ruchira Nadira. Our correspondent said the security in the area was beefed up when the bodies were exhumed. Meanwhile, on a previous occasion, the government analyst confirmed that the DNA of the mastermind behind the April 21st attacks, Mohammed Zaharan, was a match with the DNA of his daughter and sister.
The Police Special Task Force arrested 3 men, including a Chinese national, for operating an illegal IDD call ring in Negombo.
402 new mobile phones, 17,400 SIM cards from a number of service providers in the country were discovered, along with 60 routers, among other communication devices.
When the mobile phones were discovered, they were actively connected to the internet. One of the 3 suspects is a resident of Negombo. Another is from Kalpitia, while the third one is a Chinese national. It was also revealed that the Chinese national didn't have a visa. He did not even have a passport at the time of the arrest. This fake communication center was operated in Ettukala, Negombo. It can also be known as a place which carried out an illegal telecommunication method to smuggle money. The suspects and the equipment are in the custody of the Criminal Investigations Department.
The leader of All Ceylon Makkal Congress, Rashad expressed his views about the request made by the Mahasangha of the 3 Nikayas in Kandy to accept the positions made vacant once again. Now, the former minister expressed these views opposite the police headquarters today.
I respect the request made by the Mahanayaka Theros. We consider it to be an attack on extremist groups. We are planning on doing several things. First is to meet with the chief prelates of the Asgiri and Malwata chapters. Then we will meet with the opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa. We will also meet with the leaders of the Tamil National Alliance. We will meet with all party leaders. We will also meet the UN representatives in Sri Lanka and members of various NGOs. We resign from our ministerial positions. We will do any other sacrifice to ensure reconciliation in the country.
Rashad Badiuddin arrived at the police headquarters to lodge a complaint against the statements made by parliamentarians Vimal Veeravangsha and SB Dissanayake. Meanwhile, SB Dissanayake too lodged a complaint against Rashad Badiuddin at the police headquarters today.
Yet another discussion for an alliance between Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna took place today.
Representing the SLFP is General Secretary Dasiri Jasekara. Tilanga Sumadipala, former General Secretary Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa attended the discussion. The chairman of the SLPP, Professor G.L. Piris and Dallas Alahappirama attended the meeting representing the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. During the past 2 weeks, we discussed the initial matter along with the central working committees of both parties. Accordingly, we came to an initial consensus, especially with regard to the policy framework. That came to an end today. Accordingly, the next round of discussions will focus on the structure that is required for common alliance. We also discussed about institutional framework and its activities. Who are our leaders? What are the positions they would be getting? Would be an issue that would have to be dealt with later. Priority is coming to a common consensus and building a progressive alliance.
බුදුජන පෙරමුණේ මේ වෙනකොට යෝජනා වෙලා තියෙනවා ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහතාව ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න කියලා. එතකොට මෙතෙන්දී ගැටීමක් ඇති වෙන්නේ නැද්ද?
නෑ කිසිම ගැටීමක් නෑ. මොකද මම දන්නේ නැහැ බුදුජන පෙරමුණේම තීන්දුවක් අරන් තියෙනවද කියලා.
අපි එකඟත්වයකට පැමිණලා තියෙනවා. හුඟක් දුරට පක්ෂ දෙකේ
We have come to an agreement on many things. We have already decided upon the policies of the two parties. Next step is institutional framework and future activities. But before that, we need to discuss these matters deeply within our parties. We cannot stop there. Party leaders must discuss these matters with us. In addition to this, we will call our party members in batches of 4,000 and carry out discussions in Nelum Mawatha.
විශේෂ කාර්යභාරයක් ඉෂ්ට කිරීම.
Both parties have decided to meet again on the 17th of this month.
The UMP parliamentarians had also convened a media briefing in Parliament today.
කරු ජයසූරිය, සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස, රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ කියන මේ නායක තුන්දෙනා
Karu Jayasuriya, Sajid Premadasa and Ranil Wickramasinghe will be appointed as the Speaker, President and Prime Minister of the country. The candidate will be decided by the working committee of the party. There is time to decide on that. There is no need to import leaders like other parties. Someone between these leaders will be appointed as the presidential candidate, and they will continue working as the Prime Minister and the Speaker. There were rumors linked to a famous businessman that he will be the next UNP presidential candidate, but those are just stories. Only one of the above three leaders will give oaths as the President of Sri Lanka.
නියත වශයෙන්ම මේ නායක තුන්දෙනාගේ කෙනෙක් මේ රටේ ජනාධිපතිවරු විදිහට ජනවාරි දෙසැම්බර් 8 වෙනිදා දුරුන් දෙන්න අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු සූදානම්.
An adjournment motion on foreign interventions was held in Parliament today. Its proposal was presented by parliamentarian Dinesh Gunawardena.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ආර්ථිකයේ විදේශ මැදිහත් වීම
It has been proved with evidence that foreign intervention in the economy of Sri Lanka has increased after the current government came into power. During the past, special investigators from the United States were brought into local investigative institutions, resulting in the intervention in the information, details and data of local institutions. This is a disrespect to the governance and the judicial system of our country. The threat posed by agreement signed by the government to bring down foreign laws and regulations, foreign courts and lawyers to the country in order to weaken the powers of the local judicial system has not been erased. The third point is that many foreign organizations that pose a threat to the economic centers in Sri Lanka have come into the country at the same time. The government has also signed another agreement with the USA, of which the government has failed to bring the details before the parliament.
හැකි තත්වයට මෙතෙක් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමට අපෝසත් වූ තවත් ගිවිසුමකට ආණ්ඩුව අවතීර්ණ වී තිබෙනවා එක්සත් ජනපද ඇමරිකාව සමග. හෙරිටේජ් ෆවුන්ඩේෂන් ආයතනයේ පර්යේෂණ වාර්තාවේ
As per the investigation report issued by Heritage Foundation on the 17th of March, it is clearly stated that this government is going to be toppled and there are many steps that needs to be taken in this regard. One such step is taking measures to justify the victories that USA has obtained over the past 4 years. It's only the US nationals who compile these reports and the US pawns in Sri Lanka who know that these victories that the USA have gained over Sri Lanka. This parliament is not aware of these victories that the USA want established. In April 2019, 12 Sri Lankan judges took part in a program, as per the invitation of the US Department of Justice. Looking at the participation, it is clear to us that instead of the 6 appeal court judges and the 6 judges of the Supreme Court, 3 High Court judges have participated. These 3 High Court judges are acting as members of a 3-member panel of High Court judges appointed by the present government. Therefore, we have a reasonable doubt whether the US government has some influence over the independent functioning of our country's judges, including the Chief Justice. From then to now, the sovereignty of the country foreign policy was compiled as a non-aligned nation. As a nation, we will not allow any foreign nation to interfere in the country's judicial system or any other institute. If a foreign nation is acting with this interest, we would like to state that we are always bound to protect the sovereignty and independence of the country and the people.
Dr. Jayampati Wickramaratne was a pioneer in drafting the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. He commented about the 19th Amendment to the Constitution at a media briefing today.
If the initial draft of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was passed in Parliament, this situation wouldn't have arisen. You wouldn't have two authorities fighting over state expenditure heads. This amendment was sabotaged. We had to make it lighter to obtain a two-thirds majority. The best example is the composition of the Constitutional Council.
Newsfirst highlighted the issue in the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. At the time, it was a draft bill. No one has been able to untangle the mess in governing the state, although we took the matter pertaining to the suppression of the media to courts. Now, this particular amendment even created problems in the executive, judiciary and the legislature. We must also mention that it was our very own media network and the Mahajan Eksat Peramuna that filed an FR petition in courts when it comes to media suppression. Now, why are those who were involved in compiling the amendment to the Constitution realizing the issues in it only now? Is it because they were distracted at the time the amendment was made? And do you remember the manner in which the people who were appointed for this important task of drafting a constitution for the country conduct discussions? Let's take a look back. People of this country question if this was the manner in which the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was also made. Now, we will have more on this story later on our bulletin. Meanwhile, according to the Sri Lankan Embassy at The Hague, the number of tourists from the Netherlands traveling to Sri Lanka has begun to pick up following the relaxation of the travel advisory by the Dutch government. The release said that the Dutch authorities decided to relax the travel advisory on Sri Lanka following consultations with the other EU member states. Sri Lanka's state-run Sri Lankan Airlines had been named the world's most punctual airline with 90.75% of its flights arriving on time in May 2019 by flightstats.com.
The airline said, quote, "This is the second time in less than 12 months that Sri Lankan has achieved this milestone, having also achieved the world's #1 ranking in September 2018 with a punctuality rating of 91.37%, unquote. The airline said it was a challenging achievement given heightened security at its hub Colombo Airport. Flightstats.com had tracked 78% of 3,282 flights operated by Sri Lankan. Singapore Airlines was in 8th place with 7,987 flights. Emirates was in 10th place with 12,615 flights.
Amidst political mayhem, the adverse weather is also battering the general public, while red notices are issued about heavy rains to certain parts of the island. We took a journey to Jaffna, where people are suffering from a 6-month-long drought. I earlier today recorded a weather forecast. Let's take a look. A very good evening to all our viewers joining me as Rashad on Weather First. Let's now take a look at the weather forecast for the next few days. Now, issuing an advisory, the Met Department says the showers of about 150 to 200 millimeters can be expected in Kalutara, Ratnapura, Galle and Matra districts. Also, showers of about 100 millimeters to 150 millimeters can be expected in Nuwara, Kandy, Putlam, Colombo and Gampar districts. And showers exceeding 75 millimeters can be expected from the Uva province. The Met Department also added that strong winds from 40 to 50 kilometers can be expected across the island.
News First, David Paldano toured the Ratnapura district throughout the day today.
Now I'm reporting here from the Kaluganga, where the irrigation department reported that it was at 1.3 meters in the morning, but it has been raining ever since morning, and as we can see right now, the level of rain has increased drastically, and it can be seen that the river is increasing in its depth. Now, the Met Department has issued a warning saying that the monsoon season is now setting itself over the island, and there is going to be 150 to 200 millimeters of rain setting in. Now, while this area is having this rain like this, let's now take a look at another part of the island which is not going through its same fate.
While many parts of the island are receiving heavy rains, northern and eastern provinces are experiencing an extremely hot weather condition.
While there are torrential downpours in certain parts of the country, here in the northern province, especially in the Jaffna Peninsula, contrastingly there is a prevailing drought condition. This drought condition has not only taken a toll on the day-to-day activities of the villagers, but it has now posed a challenge for the breadwinners to bring a meal to their families and also to continue on their livelihood.
This is the manner in which a large number of people gathering at this water tank, which is the only water tank in the Petiala village in the Karenagar Divisional Secretariat area in Jaffna. Since many of the wells in the area contain brackish water, the area residents are compelled to use it. We were able to witness how many come to the water tank in the Petiala village from far in search of water. This 84-year-old woman who lives in the Punnakurathiru 12th village is compelled to fend for herself as her children and her husband have died due to the war. Her livelihood is depending on producing Palmyra-based products and cultivating vegetables. However, all that she had worked for has been destroyed due to the 6-month-long drought affecting the area. As a result, she spends many days without a meal. It is not only this village that has been battered by the drought. Over 159,000 individuals in the northern province have been affected by the severe drought.
Newsfirst also inquired into how the prevailing weather condition has affected the agricultural sector of the economy.
When Newsfirst inquired whether any steps were taken by the Treasury to provide relief to those affected by the drought, a top official from the department said that so far the drought has not caused an adverse impact when compared with the drought condition the country faced in 2016. Speaking to Newsfirst, Pradeep Kodipilli of the Disaster Management Centre stated that water is being provided to those affected by the prevailing weather condition. Meanwhile, speaking to Newsfirst, Director General of the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. W.M.W. Veerakon stated that the delay in monsoon rains has negatively impacted the agriculture sector, and if the prevailing drought continues to prevail, the local agriculture sector may face severe difficulties.
Due to the delay in monsoon rains and the reduction of nearly 50% of expected rainfall in terms of corn cultivation, our target was 10,000 hectares, but we only achieved 8,000. If the prevailing dry weather continues, we will face several difficulties. We urge everyone to be vigilant of their cultivation as well, as the dry weather will attract pests.
According to the central bank data, during the past decade, the agriculture crops indexes has declined drastically. The index, which stood at 118.69 in 2015, dropped to 96.25 in 2017. Even though the agriculture sector contributes approximately 6.9% to the national GDP, thousands of jobs are linked to the sector through direct and indirect forms.
At least 17 people of different nationalities have been killed and several more injured after a bus hit an overhead road sign in Dubai.
Police said the Oman-registered vehicle was carrying 31 passengers when the crash occurred on Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Road. Indian officials said that 8 Indian citizens were among the dead. The driver, who is in his 50s, is receiving treatment for minor injuries and an investigation is underway. No official cause or details have yet emerged about the crash. When Newsfirst inquired from the Consulate General of Sri Lanka in Dubai, they confirmed that no Sri Lankan nationals were on board the bus.
In fact, yesterday evening, there was a bus coming from Oman to Dubai, which carries some tourists on board, and suddenly crashed into a signboard. The driver could not actually identify that. That was the main reason, as per they say, and it has been confirmed that 17 have died due to this accident, and 12 of them are Indians and a few other nationalities as well. At the moment, there's one unidentified body remains in the hospital. Other than that, I can confirm there are no Sri Lankans died or wounded out of this attack as per the latest information that we have received so far.
In developing international news now, Theresa May officially stepped down as the leader of the Conservative Party today, but will remain as Prime Minister until a successor is chosen.
Theresa May's time as leader has been dominated by Brexit, with her party, the Conservatives, divided over the issue and the failure to get her deal through Parliament. The deadline for nominations is 5 p.m. on the 10th of June, so there could be even more names added to the 11 already declared next Monday. The 1922 committee will then announce the final list of candidates at 5:30 p.m. that day. Previously, candidates needed just 2 nominations to stand, whereas now they need 8. Balloting in the House of Commons will begin on Wednesday, June the 13th. Between the 18th and 20th of June, successive ballots will be held, eliminating candidate by candidate with the least votes until just 2 remain. Once 2 candidates have been selected by MPs, the Conservative Party's 150,000 members will get a vote to choose the winner. A candidate achieving more than 50% of the vote among party members will then be declared leader of the party, expected to be announced in the week of the 22nd of July. 11 Conservative MPs are vying to replace her as party leader and ultimately Prime Minister. Theresa May remains acting party leader during the leadership election process. Meanwhile, the Conservatives fell to 3rd place in the Peterborough by-election, behind winners Labour, taking 31% of the vote, and the Brexit Party in the 2nd place, taking 29%, in what is traditionally a Tory-Labour marginal seat. The Conservatives came 3rd with 21%, while the Liberal Democrats were 4th with 12%, followed by the Green Party on 3%.
The 11th match of the ICC Cricket World Cup between Sri Lanka and Pakistan has been delayed by rain. You can log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk for more on that. And that's the wrap of this edition of Primetime News. For the news team, I'm Rashad. Take care and God bless.